talk about it a lot, but the intro of our podcast is the song Lonesome Wolf by Dawson Hollow, and that guitar you just heard, that guitar solo, was played on an Equitz guitar. And tonight on the show, we have none other than Kevin Equitz.
Is that related?
It's such a common name. I know the odds are crazy.
The way I said it is like, what's the Fender's guys? Is it Leo Fender?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I just said, it's a Fender guitar, and here's Leo Fender. It's like everyone would know that. And you know what? You would. Everyone should know. Obviously, it's Kevin Equitz.
Awesome. Hey, guys.
What's going on?
It's good to be here.
Man.
You know, I didn't plan that intro at all. It just, when it was playing, I was like, oh, wait, this was recorded on your guitar. It bears mentioning.
Yeah, sure. And hearing that little riff, I've always liked that. I didn't know which track or which part my guitar ended up on, you know, because it's a very lush, a very beautiful mix. And
your guitar is most of the
where
album.
it was. I just pretended that all of them were mine. So.
Yeah.
It's really most.
You can't hear it and just be like, that sounds like my guitar.
So they had yours, and then I can't remember the other brand. It's a brand that like guitar people would know, but it's like some boutique. I don't know what the other guitar was.
Cool.
But most of the guitars, it was the Blue Devara. Am I saying that right?
Devara, yeah.
Devara.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So you build guitars, which means you're a Luthierist?
Well,
am I saying that right?
You know, the term luthier is
Luthier.
Yeah, is out there. But that's kind of like calling a short order cook a chef. You know, like luthiers build cellos and stuff like that. I think it comes from lute. Definitely no lutes or cellos in my shop. So,
oh man, you've never built a lute?
Not yet. Give me time. But
they're coming back.
Bro, what if
so
they
hot
did?
right now?
Get those catgut strings.
Like
Woo!
the new hipster. They all got the lutes.
Oh my God, I would not even be that surprised.
Dude, for sure. I mean, like at a Renaissance fair, though.
Right? That'd be kind of cool.
There's a whole market.
Sure. But no, all my stuff is electric guitars, solid and semi-hollow. So a true luthier, you know, and I say this with all due respect to actual luthiers, you know, they do arch tops, acoustics, you know, there's a very deep, vast, broad world for luthiers. And so usually I just refer to it as guitar making.
Guitar making. Now, is that you being humble? Is there like a luthier school?
There are schools for sure. Yeah.
Is there like, are you like an engineer who didn't go to school and get a degree, but like anyone's technically could be an engineer?
Pretty much. Yeah.
Do you have like a mark in your head of like, if I did X, Y, and Z, I could call myself a luthier?
Maybe. I haven't even thought of it that way, but that's a really good question. Yeah, probably. The day I make an acoustic and or like a true arch top, like that's the real, dude, the arch top, man. Like
tough.
It's like a real, I'm using air quotes, arch
Sure.
top. Yeah, there's a lot to that. Ton of work that goes into that.
Man, I remember back in San Diego, there was a school. What school did this?
School of the Luthiers?
No, it was some East County school. Some high school. They had a deal
Grossmont?
with Taylor guitars.
Oh, that makes sense because they were right there.
Because they're literally right there. And they had a program in the school where all the kids joined this class and built an acoustic guitar. Wow. That was the class.
Yeah.
And you do it all year or all semester, I assume.
Wesley says El
El
Cap.
Okay, that sounds
right.
familiar.
Yeah, because they were in they were in Santee.
Right,
Taylor
which is where
guitars.
Taylor is, yeah.
And El Cap's.
And I remember thinking,
miles.
that shit was dope. And I learned that because I was taking guitar class at community college like a couple years later, and someone was like, I built this. And I was like, what? I was like blown away.
Which we went to the same community college
Grossmont?
during a time.
I went to all the community colleges.
We had a crossover period. I remember I saw you there carrying an acoustic guitar, and I was like, "Oh, it's Travis's cousin."
Oh, you didn't come say hi, though.
I did say hi. I said hi. You just have a poor memory, and it was 12 years ago. Yeah, 15, it might have been 15.
I'm old.
But in either case, Grossmont was just like, here's Taylor, and there's a hill, and there's Grossmont on the other side of the hill. It's right there. But anyway, enough plugging for Taylor guitars, because we're here with Kevin Equitz. Bob Taylor be damned.
He's a good guy, actually. There were a couple opportunities I had to meet him, talk to him and stuff. He's in full respect. He's a really good guy.
Yeah.
Nice. I hate him because he's not Kevin Equitz. I'm just kidding.
You crack me up.
No, I'm sure he's great. So how'd you get into building guitars? How does one
Yeah, how does that even
begin
happen?
that journey?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. To start with, my family's musical. This is what we do. Some families are like sports families and whatever, outdoor camping families. We were a music family. And my dad's a drummer, and my brother is a few years older than me. And jokingly, I say, I play guitar, but he's the guitar player. And so we grew up playing the drums like my dad. And when my brother hit like junior high age, he wanted to start playing guitar. And my dad also had some guitars and, he could play some chords and stuff. So he got my brother up and running. And my brother is the type that he really like locks into something. He does it really well, really quickly. So he got into guitar. He was doing really well, and that pushed me deeper into drums. So I had like little to do with guitars for a long time until high school or so. And then, you realize how much more portable it is, and you don't want to ever be the drummer. Everyone's hanging out at the beach or whatever, and they got the guitars, and
Yeah.
I'm like, what do I do?
You're gonna bring a bongo? Like,
Yeah, sort of like a tambourine, maybe. I don't know. But, just being the kind of kid that would take stuff apart and try to figure out how things worked and all that, it just made a lot of sense that I would be more interested in how the components worked and some of the more like kind of mundane maintenance type of things, So getting into just basic stuff like changing strings was kind of fun. And one of my dad's old guitars, like, the tuners were just totally seized up and old. And so from the music store, I got a little set of tuners and I tried to figure out how to put them on there. So anyway, that was at the time too. Keep in mind, this was in, I grew up in the 80s. And so like middle school, high school was in the 90s. Electric guitar was kind of a big deal through the 80s,
Right.
even into the 90s and stuff. So the guitar was this awesome, like, the stuff of legend.
Yeah.
It was this cool, mysterious.
I would say
like,
it's
Yeah.
still doing pretty good now.
I do too. But
Supposedly it's coming back.
it's coming back. But what I'm saying is like in the 80s and all. I mean, they were
Yeah.
crazy
Everything
colors
was about that,
and
yeah.
So as a kid, you see one on a wall, you're like, whoa, what is that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You'd see there'd be movies. What was that movie we watched? The Crossroads? Is it just called Crossroads?
Yeah, with Ralph Macchio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his
I love that
guitar's
movie.
like, it's like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Like guitars have lightning bolts shooting out of them. They have an aura and a mysteriousness and a.
Right. Or
I,
isn't that
I
what
know
Bill and
exactly what you're
Ted's
saying. Bill and
Yeah,
Ted's
was about
Excellent
the-
Adventure.
yeah, the guitar in the window.
Uh-huh.
Just that vibe.
Totally.
Yeah,
And so-
we hit that a little later.
Yeah, right.
We were growing up with guitar as God, and then by the time you learn it, it was like, nope, EDM.
Right. There you go.
You
But yeah.
learned a dead art.
So by the time I college, I knew I wanted to be an art student doing graphic design and that kind of stuff. So it just kind of made sense. Like, well, design and all this is really interesting to me, and guitars are awesome, and taking them apart and putting them together. It's like, well, why not build guitars? So that was, I guess, the spark, and meeting different builders and getting books and some of the resources out there, and it's out there, if you're looking for it. The internet was really on a, it was new and exciting, of course, and so that there were resources out there, and then things like Facebook communities, podcasts, things like that. Like you could actually have access to some of these builders, and a lot of the builders are really cool. They were super helpful and encouraging, and you could ask questions and they would answer. And so, yeah, that was it. I mean, it just went from wanting to take stuff apart, put stuff together, and
Man.
there
Dude,
you go.
Isn't it weird? Like back in the 90s and early 2000s, if you wanted to reach somebody, you had to like find their phone number.
Yeah.
And some people tried to hide that because they didn't want you to reach them. And then like in the music world, there's like books. I actually bought one for $150, a book with the phone numbers of important people.
Phone books.
Yeah.
I've heard of this.
And then you would call them, and then they paid a person to answer the phone. We would call it a secretary. I'm sure they're still around. But a secretary whole job.
Secretaries don't exist anymore.
Is
It's
the
administrative assistant.
I see. The secretary's job was to not let you talk to the person you were trying to talk to.
Yeah. First
Unless they wanted you so much. And so, but then like you were just saying, the world like flattened out a little bit.
Totally.
And now you can reach out to these people. They have a Facebook. They have a personal thing.
Yeah.
And now probably people have more walls, but you'd be surprised who you get through. It's amazing how some people can be pretty famous and they do their own Instagram.
Well, to that point, like we're all from Southern California. You know, the NAMM show was a huge deal for musicians in the area, and we were very fortunate to find ways in through friends and stuff. So my dad, my brother, and I've been going to the NAMM shows for a long time. And I mean, you've all been to the NAMM shows.
I've never been.
No? Okay.
No,
I
yeah.
have.
I've almost gone a few times.
It's a very, very big. It's trade only, you know. So it's not uncommon to be like, oh, there's Stevie Wonder, and
I've been right next to Stevie Wonder at the NAMM show.
right, exactly.
I've seen him there twice.
Apparently he's
he
just
goes all
over
the
it.
time.
Yeah, and then there would be like the person you haven't heard of, but they're playing a demo, and they're just like this mind-blowingly amazing.
Yeah.
and they're just right there playing a thing, and oh, here's a new company, you want a free pack of strings, and yeah, you know, it was this super surreal like Candyland for nerdy music types, and we all kind of had our different you know, nerdy radar things going on. My dad, you know, 'cause you'd see people huddled up like around a booth, and somebody be like ripping. They could be playing a 3-string banjo or whatever, but if they're doing it really well, you know, a little crowd forms. And my dad loves that kind of stuff. He loves a little spontaneous. He's like, you know, he'd come away, oh, did you see that? That was amazing, you know. And my brother was also really good at spotting, like, oh, that's the guy from this band, and that's the guy from that band, you know. And so it was cool to see that. And for me, it became, you know, you were talking about Leo, Fender, you know, so seeing the namesakes of these guitar companies, like, oh, guys, you know who that is? That's the guy that makes those guitars, you know. Okay.
And his last name's Fender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it just actually is.
Well, that's why his company. He wasn't named after the company. The company was named second. You know that, right?
So there was a guy just walking around with the last name Fender, and it used to be that Fender was like hearing Smith, and then Fender guitars are so big that we just can't unhear that that's a guitar.
Right. But I mean, so many of these companies are named after the person, right? Which I guess is, from what some have told me, not a good idea, but but yeah. Anyway, those people were like celebrities to me, and so to be able to, like, you know, you've seen only pictures of the guitars, to see them in real life, and then to stand next to that person and have them say, oh yeah, here's, you know, what this is, and I made this decision here and there, and yeah, totally nerded out.
No, why
my way.
Why was it bad to name a guitar after yourself?
Well, some people, I guess if they do it right, that's that's kind of their startup, and then they might sell that company, or it might become part of something else, and so it's got your name attached to it.
You sell Equitz Guitars, and then some crappy company just pumps out manufactured shit.
Right. Then it's
Yeah.
Equitz Guitars, like by Squire or something.
Yeah, probably not going to happen anytime soon, but yeah, I'll cross that
Why
bridge
not?
when I get to it. Yeah.
After this episode, surely.
Woo! Here we go.
That's it.
If you're looking to buy a guitar company, Kevin Equitz is selling.
Actually, just quit my day job today. So no, I'm kidding.
Oh man, there's been a lot of times in my life I've considered like getting a custom guitar or something like that, and I never do because, as I'm sure you're aware, they're pretty pricey.
Yeah.
But at one point I thought I'm gonna build one. That was I'm like, this can't be that hard. And I found this. It is that hard. Is what I've learned. That's the moral of this story. But just a spoiler alert. But I found this builder who I wanted to use at one point. I forget his name now. Robert something. He made like Tele style guitars.
Okay.
But he had on his website like a shot, like picture by picture steps that he takes to build a guitar, and it was like, you know, 60 pages or something of pictures. And I was like, okay, I could do this. I'll start with this first one. And I was just like reading it. And I got like 10 pages in, and I was like, Jesus, there's no way in hell I'm ever doing this. Like, this is so much more effort, so much more tool, so much work than you think Because when you look at a acoustic, you
Yeah.
think, well, of course a lot goes into it. It's like hollow inside.
Yeah.
But when you look at electric, you don't think that much goes into it. Because you think, when you look at it, you're just like, man, it's a slab of wood with some strings on it.
Mhm.
But that's not the case. I don't really have a follow-up question so much as just like, Jesus, it's way harder than I thought. But I don't know, was anything like, when you got into it, was there any like particular hurdles or things that were super difficult or like really expensive tools you had to buy, that you didn't even know you would need?
No, all of the above. No, you're right on it. The way that I got into it, the first one that I did, or the first few that I did, were like parts guitars, or so the body was already cut, even like painted and everything, and when you're looking at, again, we keep talking about Fender, but the design of the Stratocaster is such that you could put one together of all just replacement or aftermarket parts, which is pretty cool. You need a soldering iron and a screwdriver for the most part, and you could pretty much come away with a playable guitar in the end. So that was a start for me, was just kind of tiptoeing into it that way. That's going to cost a bit more because you're paying for the stuff to be prefabbed and all that. So you're trading time for money essentially. So it'll take more time if you want to cut your own body, but maybe buy a neck that's already made. That was the second step that I took. And so little by little, it was a matter of each project. I was like, okay, this time I'm going to shape the neck. Maybe I'll buy the fretboard that's already cut and slotted and all that, but I'm going to shape the neck. And so, yeah, you can step into it that way, but there are a lot of steps, and the tools can be pretty specialized as well. So there were a few opportunities where, like a friend of mine wanted, like one of his guitars, like recrowned. So I was like, well, I'm going to need a file to do that. So instead of paying me, he paid for a $90 fret file, it's an expensive tool, but it was worth $90 for him to have the job done. And that was, it was a good education for me. And I still use that file today. So, yeah, it's, the tools, if you get a good one and you take care of them, they'll last longer than the project. And
so like with that, so you got like a fret file. This is a file designed for frets.
Yeah.
How is that different than just a file?
You could use a regular file, and you can modify them, and it's going to be more work. But the fret file that I was talking about is, it's got like a concave channel in it that matches the width of the fret, and inside that is a diamond abrasive, and it's got two different grits on it, 150 and 300. So you can kind of rough it in and then flip it over and do a more finished kind of approach.
Okay.
To it. Yeah.
And is that what kind of creates the concave shape of the guitar? Is the fret file?
That's just for the frets themselves, like shaping the guitar itself. That is a whole other host of woodworking tools. But fortunately, like the woodworking stuff, that's all normal, basic, tools. And you can get by with, if you wanted to get like band saws and, routers and planers and joiners, you don't have to get the big industrial, big mamma jammas.
Sure.
You can have for a long time in Southern California, my whole shop was a one-car garage with one of those folding workbenches. So the workbench was actually my shop. I had to park my car in there every night because we had an HOA that was a nightmare. And I had to fold everything up, squeeze my little car in there backwards so that I could get out every time.
Oh, man.
I only went to your house in, was it Anaheim?
Yeah.
Irvine. Anaheim?
No, yeah, it was near
I only went to your house one time, but I remember it very vividly.
Yeah.
I remember
that was a good night.
We had to drive.
That was after NAMM, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a NAMM show, and we drove you had to go a ways out to the parking, or for us to find parking.
Yeah.
I can remember the bushes there.
Yeah.
Very Southern California bushes.
Yeah. Well, there was a condo. Yeah. So we were in a little condo complex. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know why I remember that night so well.
No, that was a good time. It was a good group of guys, and we were, I think we were on the way to something else too. So we just kind of stopped off.
Yeah. Your parents were there. Did we go to a bowling thing? Was that the night? I know one time I went to a bowling. Was that the bowling thing with the guitar?
There was a bowling thing.
Some guitar, I met some guitar podcaster from England.
Guitar podcaster. Oh yeah, the guitar nerds.
Yeah,
guitar
probably.
nerds.
Yeah, those guys are cool.
Yeah. So anyway, I was talking to him, and I found out later that he was cool, and the guitar world. That was a very that was a very eye-opening NAMM experience because, you know, my thing's more like pro audio.
Yeah.
And then I came with Co. By the way, if you're listening at home, there's a drinking game. Drink every time we say Co during the podcast. I think he'll come around.
Oh yeah.
But so we were there with Co, which for the listener is a person, C-O-E. It's a human guy I know.
Anyone who's listened to this show knows who Co is. I feel like we bring him up every week.
I don't think we do.
We bring him up all the time.
I think Co is that's how I know you two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Co. So that's like 5 drinks you've just taken, by the way. and anyway, so but Co was really into the custom boutique guitar community that was burgeoning on Facebook and back in whenever that was, 2010s. And so when I came with him and all his guitar nerd friends, and you were one of them, it was a whole different NAMM experience and a whole different world of guitar people and guitar podcasts. And we hung out and had pizza. And it was really interesting being in a world where, like, I could sense that there was hierarchy, there were celebrities, there were people who were respected, people who were less respected, and in the guitar builder community, and it's not my thing. Although it's adjacent, like I like guitars and I record guitars, but I'm like, okay, I'm a little bit interested in this, but I'm not invested enough to like feel like I'm a part of it. So I feel like a little bit of an outsider walking through this guitar community and being like, okay, I kind of feel like that guy is not super liked. This guy is cool, whatever. But I'm like, I'm just talking to this guy. And then I find out later, like in the guitar world, like that guy's so cool. But it's kind of fun being an outsider when you don't have. It's one of the things I like about being in Nashville because I'm not that into country. It's kind of fun when I meet somebody who's like a country celebrity, comes to the studio or whatever. But I don't melt in front of them because they're not Jimmy Eat World.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's like, I don't listen to your music. Oh, but you're a big deal? That's great, man. And I could actually kind of...
You know what's funny, actually, in light of that, we, my wife, we were out, we tried to do a regular date night, as you know, it's hard now. It's
tough.
I get time and schedules and whatever. So our first restaurant fell through, and so we were in. Do you guys know where Cool Springs is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I worked
So we were in Cool Springs, and we saw this place that it was. We were in the area. We like just Googled like restaurants near us, and there was one right down the way, and it was it was some sort of a brewery restaurant thing. We're like, all right, that sounds fine. And it was attached to a hotel. So we go down there, and there's there are these 2 guys sitting out front, big sunglasses on. One guy smoking this huge cigar, like just on the little benches outside in front of the restaurant.
Yeah.
And I told my wife, I'm like, I think that's Dennis Rodman. Because I mean, he's hard to mistake,
Right.
You know what I mean? He's
Like, you know what he looks like.
He's, you know, it's dark, and he's got the big sunglasses on, and he's got whoever his, you know, right hand person was. And so I was like, I think that was him. Like, what the heck's he doing in Cool Springs, Middle Tennessee? So we go, and the restaurant's too full. So we were like, well, we'll just sit at the bar and order a burger and a drink from the bar. And so there was one seat at the end that was empty. And we asked the guy, hey, is this taken? He goes, yeah, it's fine. He goes, unless Dennis Rodman comes back and wants his chair back. We're like, okay, well, that was a big cigar. He's gonna be out there for a while. And so this guy, this stranger, it was him and this lady he was telling us, he's like, okay, so you look over here on the other side of the bar. You see the guy in the red shirt? You know, he's with the Atlanta Braves. And we're like, oh, cool. So he's pointing out there were all these like sports celebrities. There was an event going on, some sort of I don't know, whatever sports people do.
Celebrities.
Yeah, kind of like the
90s.
NAMM. But I think a lot of them were staying at this hotel. And so they were at this restaurant bar getting their dinner, drinks, watching the football game or whatever. And it was so funny because had they been musicians, we totally would have known who they were.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they were just random dudes that were all like big deal, you know, sports people. And it was funny because this guy was geeking the heck out, and he was telling me all this, and I'm like, sure, whatever, man.
We used to host a podcast here for a guy who's long snapper for the Cowboys.
That's hard for you because like I feel like you don't actually know what that means, and so
I do. Well, I looked
I
it
have no
up.
clue what that means.
I don't know
Yeah.
what it means.
I looked it
so.
up. I mean,
it
I
sounds
looked
like
it up.
a throwing
Throw-
or a kicking.
throws,
I'm also
right?
I'm also actively processing like how much do I share, what's okay. But anyway, he was a super nice guy. I
Yeah.
liked him a lot. If he will never listen to this, but he's a great guy. Anyway, he did his podcast here, so he would have like sports celebrities come in and do their show here, and I obviously didn't know who any of them were. Well, one day he had this guy, and you guys won't care, but but if you're listening, yeah, David Akers says Wesley knew exactly what I was going to
I've
say.
heard that name.
So apparently, David Akers was here, and I think he was from the Seattle Seahawks. He had the Seahawks jersey on.
That helps.
And he
That-
walked
that
through.
gave it away.
Yeah, I gave it away. He walked through the door, and I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'm like, "I take it you're here for the podcast." Brought him in, whatever, sat him down, whatever, said hi and bye, basically. And then I found out later that he's like one of the greatest kickers of all time, and apparently that's important. And
Dude, to be the
There
greatest
you
of
go.
all
There he
time
is.
at something,
At
on
anything.
purpose, yeah, that's cool.
On purpose, yeah.
yeah, his career, 6
distinction.
Pro Bowls, twice
What
received
is a Pro
all Pro
Bowl
honors.
like a All-Star. Okay, not the Super Bowl.
He also then tied the then NFL record for the longest
Got it.
successful
Anyone
field
who
goal.
likes sports listening to this
I
is
know.
like, you
This
guys are
is
fucking
gotta
idiots.
be
Yeah.
painful.
Eagles. Nope, not Seahawks. Eagles.
Oh.
Was he ever on the Seahawks, or did I just see an eagle and I was like, that looks like an ocean
It's
eagle
a
to me?
predatory
Seahawk.
bird of some sort.
No
Eagle.
shit. So anyway, so like I said, he
Not a
walked
bird
in
guy
here.
either, huh?
He walked in here with an Eagles jersey, and I was like, he's on the Eagles.
Right.
I knew that right away, and so it turns out he was like one of the most famous kickers of all time, and he was right here, and I didn't care.
Well, I mean,
But I think it's cool now. And Wesley's, are you coming to reset the camera? Or are you coming to yell at us about our lack of sports knowledge?
But to try to steer it back to music,
Yeah.
NAMM shows like there was
Dude, I gotta say, it sucks how many of our guests have to steer it back to
Yeah, we try to steer it away as hard as we can.
no. I'm willing to take a tangent.
No, right.
There's nothing I can say. Really
Yeah,
about that.
I'm at the end. The Dennis Rodman
yeah.
was all I had.
That was
That
it.
was-
I mean, dude, it's a wonder I even knew his name. But I mean, the guy's he's like a cartoon character.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hello. Anyway, there was one NAMM show where this company had this special capo. It was like a double capo, but one side of it was shorter than the other. So it was kind of like faking an alternate tuning, so you could do that.
Yeah, we invented that.
We did. Yeah, we did.
Well,
Jury and I invented
We
that
don't get
at
the credit,
Guitar
but we
Center
invented
one
it.
time.
yeah. Okay. Sure. So these guys also invented it, and and so from Craigslist, like there was, I answered an ad. They just wanted someone to sit in the booth and just play for the whole show with this capo on. It was super cool because in that case, I was sitting in one spot and kind of people would go past me. Usually you're walking around and it was amazing because there were some people that were super cool and like quasi. This was in Hall E, so it was like downstairs. And that's where like a lot of the new products are and stuff. So it's not all the big lights and fog machines and cool fancy stuff. But if you go down there, you're looking kind of to see what's new and what's going on. And so there were some people that were really cool. And it's like, wow, you don't have to be this cool. You're like kind of a big deal, And others that were like not cool. And like the opposite is true. It's like, you're not a big enough deal to be this much of a jerk. I won't say who those guys were. But one guy that was super cool, you may know, is Lyle Workman. You know the movie Superbad?
Yeah.
He's like a producer, like he did the whole like soundtrack. He got like Bootsy Collins and these like funk legendary musicians together, and he did that soundtrack. And he was just the coolest guy. Like he actually listened to my stupid demo, and I was talking through the product, and he was like interested, and he like pulls out his wallet and he like buys one on the spot, and I was like, wow, man, like you're a cool guy.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Lyle Workman.
Yeah, look him up.
Guitarist, composer, session and touring musician, and music producer.
And a cool guy.
And a cool guy.
We should add that in there.
Anyone can edit
Super
Wikipedia.
bad, 4-year-old
Can have that right
virgin, forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
now.
things.
Oh, that's a lot of big.
And the list goes on.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
Does this say the interview? The Interview. Wesley, is that the one we like?
Yeah, that's the one where they go to North Korea.
Yes, I love that movie. I've like offloaded a lot of brain power into Wesley. Okay, I've got a NAMM story. Speaking of Hall E.
Nice.
So 1 year of NAMM, and I think I only probably ever went like maybe 4 times. But one of those 4 times I was with a church, and that church, I was at church on Sunday, and a lady came up to us and was like, I forget how the conversation started, but she's like, my son is speaking at, or he has a booth at NAMM, and you guys should visit him. I don't know why I gave her a Southern accent. She wasn't Southern, but I've been in the South too long now.
Yeah.
And so she's like, you should visit my son at NAMM. He does this thing called, maybe I shouldn't say what it is. Nah, fuck it. Loop Community. And it's like a loop community online.
It's not just a clever name.
For like praise and worship people to have like tracks behind them. So anyway, so she's like, visit him. So whilst we are at NAMM, we're in Hall E, and we visit his booth, and we're there. And all of a sudden, Stevie Wonder is right next to us. And he's there to play some bizarre instrument. I couldn't even describe it to you. It's like a lap steel piano, I would say. Like,
did he see you?
Oh, is it the one where the strings are kind of stretched across and you like tap them into the
yeah,
the
that
frets?
sounds right. Yeah. Do you know what that's called?
Yeah. At one point I did. But
That's some Hall E shit, which it's like, it's kind of ironic that up at the top, you've got like everything everyone already knows anyway. Like, when, like you said, fog and lights and whatever. Down at the bottom that you got actually the kind of innovative stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and Stevie Wonder comes, so we're like, oh, hey, it was nice to meet you. We saw your mom. Okay, anyway, watching Stevie Wonder now. He's 5 feet from me playing this crazy instrument I've never seen before. There's a whole crowd. Whenever Stevie Wonder walks around NAMM, plays instruments, and crowds amass around him. It's a weird, I don't know, he must really enjoy it. And so we're watching Stevie Wonder. Anyway, the end of that story is now 6-7 years later, I'm marrying his ex-girlfriend.
Oh.
Stevie Wonder?
No. That's fucking right. F you, Stevie. No.
That was too good.
No, that the guy at the Loop Community.
That's funny.
The guy we went to visit.
Small world right there.
And that's a NAMM Hall E story for you.
That's a good one. No, that's great. He always had an entourage with him.
Stevie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you could kind of, you'd see the crowds turn, and then, he would have, like, you never want to go up to him because he looked like you were going to get smacked by
Oh,
a
yeah.
very intimidating
I mean, I feel
person.
like any celebrity, but especially, like, because he's blind, he's got to have people, like, watching out for him.
Supposedly blind.
Supposedly. That's never been proven. For the people who don't know, it's North American
Music Merchants.
I thought it was National Association of Music Merchants.
Oh, fuck.
Sure.
You're
One
right.
of those.
I think you're right.
Wesley?
Wesley, look at him go.
Yeah, thank you.
It's not North American?
You're probably right. National.
Yeah, I feel like you probably know better than me.
National Association.
National Association.
Now, have
of
you
Music
ever shown your
Merchants.
guitars at NAMM?
Kind of. Not in my own booth, but in other people's booths.
Oh, okay. What kind of booths?
Like stands, holders, or just as demo guitars for like some pedal people.
Okay.
When you go up and plug in a guitar to try pedal.
I feel like, does that not make you so uncomfortable? Like to have your guitar as a demo guitar?
It's there, and it's a lot cheaper than paying for a booth. So
Oh,
I'll
so
take
I
it.
guess that works. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just like, I mean, how long does it actually, so start to finish, like, what's your timeline on building it?
That, a lot of people ask that, and I wish I had a really good answer. It kind of depends on the guitar, right? So one of my models is like, it's intended to be very simple. One pickup, top routed. But keep in mind that with my day job, like this is, it's not a hobby. It's what I consider like a part-time job. And my hours are in the mornings. So, if I can if I can get out of bed in time, it's from about like 3:30 or so until about 6:30 in the morning.
Sorry, 3:30 in the AM?
Yeah.
Jesus.
So when I'm going to sleep, you're waking up.
Yeah.
pretty much. But not every morning can I get out
Okay.
of bed like that. But those are the hours. The occasional evening and weekend, as family and all that, as it all works out. But yeah, I mean, I do have a day job. So if I were able to put in like a solid 8 to 10 hour day, like full-time job, the numbers would be totally different. So all of my process has kind of been adapted to like these sprints. It's like get up and get going. And it's hard to even think like, what if I had a full day or even a full week, like I could probably do a lot. But anyway, usually about 4 to 6 months for one of the basic ones. Some of the more involved ones with like the carved top or the semi-hollow, those can take, I would say at least, 7 or 8 months, maybe even a year, depending on. But that's just
That's a time
only having the
factor,
mornings. Yeah.
So if you could do it all day, let's say you get 2.5 days that you get right now in one day, that
a lot would
significantly
get done.
cuts that down.
And because I'm working in like those morning, hours, a lot of times I'll kind of batch process some of the operations, right? So I'll be, as much as I can, working ahead on like, putting some body blanks together or gluing up, necks or cutting fretboards. If I already have all the stuff out to do one operation, I'll try to do maybe one or two if I can. The batches are, anywhere from about 2 to maybe 4 guitars at a time. 4 is pretty, not. it's a pretty bad idea to try to do 4 at a time anymore. So 2 is usually a sweet spot. So if like one is like if something's glued up and it's clamped, then the rest of that time I want to work on something else for this other one. Yeah.
So do you have like a max guitar like projects that you'll take? Like if somebody calls you and they're like, I want a guitar, are you often like, can't right now, man, could be calling a year?
Yeah, and that is part of like what Ryan, you were saying about the other builders. Some are cool and some are nice, and some are like you can really, really damage your reputation by like you take a deposit on a guitar. You don't even start on it for 6 months or anything like that. So there is a wait list that I maintain, but my whole deal is not to take a deposit until I'm actually ready to break ground or make sawdust on it. So.
Gotcha.
For a while, the wait list was at like 2 or 3 years, which was pretty crazy.
That's wild.
COVID kind of messed with that a little bit, meaning, there was other, COVID out there, but then my wife got it really bad. And so I had to take some time off for that while she was recovering. And so COVID kind of screwed that up. And then even just recently, some folks had to wait a long time, inflation, this is why I don't want to take somebody's deposit and sit on their money for 6-8 months, until I can work, because stuff happens, life goes on. And some people have had some pretty incredible stories. They started off on the list and they're like, yeah, my kid needed surgery, so I can't get a guitar now. It's like, yes, please take care of your kid.
I get it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's part of the deal is trying to keep it to 2 or 3 at a time, because it stinks to have to wait. But for the person who is getting their guitar worked on, I'd like to think that they feel a little bit better knowing that my attention is on pretty much their guitar and maybe one other.
Yeah, and I'm sure once you go onto a wait list, like you sort of half forget and you're kind of like, well, maybe we'll see if this ever happens.
Yeah.
And then if you actually get the call, you're like, oh shit, okay, cool.
Well,
and then to have it done in a reasonable period of time feels good.
And it's mutually beneficial, right? Like it's a way for me to stay in contact with these people, because, so many of them have been friends that I know, from the guitar community or whatever. But there are a handful of new people that you get to know them in that interim. You're checking in and, they're saying, oh, hey, I can do it pretty soon, but, I got to get this thing done. And you check back in, hey, is your car okay?
Yeah.
So it's like that, to me, that's all part of the process. The guitar is just the end of it, like it's so much leading up to it is really great. just getting to know the person and what they're into, what other guitars they have, what kind of music they listen to. And coming from like a graphic design background, a lot of that time leading up to the actual build is working out the concept. And it's also, I think, helpful for them that, like we were talking about walk-in tattoos, you know, it's a long-term decision, you know, compressed into a, you know, short lead
Very
time.
tight decision period.
Right, right.
But
And
you can always smash a guitar. And you're
Right.
not supposed to smash your arm for some reason.
You could though.
You could. That's true. Terminator did it. Anyway, you were saying.
well, in your case, though, like your tattoos are permanent, but they're only as permanent as you are.
so true.
That's true.
Right.
They're not permanent at all. Very
Whereas-
short lifespan. Very, very short.
Whereas, you know, something like a guitar, ideally, it should outlive the person that bought it. It should outlive the
that's
person who
interesting.
made it.
So what you're saying is guitars are more permanent than tattoos
Or people.
or people,
It should be, if done right.
if done right.
Wow. Now
Yeah.
that is a what you just said, I feel like is like a key philosophy. I mean, I'm assuming it's a key philosophy for you, but like is that one of your core principles when you build guitars? Is that something you think about a lot?
Absolutely. Yeah. And because even some of the tools that I use, like on purpose, are my great-grandfather's, my uncle
wow.
that passed away. I mean,
Wow.
some of these tools I may have been able to get somewhere else, but I don't want to use them. I want to use something that was that outlived the person who owned it and made all these amazing things before I did. That had nothing to do with guitars, you know, like chisels and, you know, toolboxes and stuff. And here they are now with me, and ideally they'll outlive me and hopefully go on to somebody else who's going to make something else that's really cool out of them. So
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like I think that's not that you're the only person, but I think that's something special about you and what you do, because I don't fucking think that way. And all I do is make shit. I mean, and a lot of it that I'm proud of, and some of it that's more transitory. It depends. Is it for social media or is it for release? But that being said,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I put a lot of care into like an album, and it's like if it gets put onto vinyl, that's really cool and really special. But and so not to put down anything I do or my philosophies, but I've never had the thought that like this is meant to outlast me and this will live longer than me or even my client and will continue on to eternity.
But it will.
It may.
No,
I hope
it's if it's on the internet, it's forever now. It'll outlast you, your kids,
Yeah, until
your
the-
grandkids.
until the great shutdown of 2056. But
Sure.
you're right. But I'm just saying, I think that I don't usually think that way. I do think about it trying to be great and it'll last forever. But I don't think about this might outlast the person or outlast me.
it's a
So
snapshot.
I think that's a really
It's a time capsule. Like even
Yeah.
my car is, you know, of such an age that it has a CD player in it. And
nice.
not too long ago, I found, you know, the little envelope CD.
Oh,
things,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
So ones that I had made, like mixed CDs that I had
Oh,
made.
those are really special to happen upon.
And it's a time you know, you put that in, you're like, oh, I forgot about that song, because it's now everything's digital, and it's like, oh yeah, they're not on whatever Spotify or whatever. And it's like, I forgot. I don't even remember what that song was called, but I loved it at the time, you know.
Yeah.
But that's how I feel about the guitars, and quite a few of my customers have been like, you know, like one guy in particular, like he made it for his kid, and his kid was like a year old at the time.
Oh my gosh.
His kid may never even play guitar, but this was, you know,
Oh, he gonna play guitar.
it was like it was named after him. We put his initials in the inlay
wow.
and stuff. But you know, that was the mindset, is that this represents my son, and yeah, I think it's very much a snapshot. And design wise too, that's also a particular challenge, is not to get too hung up on like trends, like, oh, this is a hot color right now, and that's cool, and it's cool for now, and it's going to be really heinous for quite a while, and then it'll be cool again, you know, like Jazz Masters, you know, I don't know, maybe in like the 80s you probably couldn't give away a Jazz Master, you know, and
But offsets are cool.
and now that those 80s guitars are coming back around, right?
oh wow.
You know what I mean, like the Super Strats and all those, and it's cool because you
Are
know,
Warlocks cool?
They will be. I think.
They probably will.
Maybe not yet, but
I bought a Warlock back when I was like 8th grade, and I was like, this is the fucking coolest thing ever. It's like the cool guitars I've always seen. And then now I don't want that to be cool again.
But
Please, no.
that's probably what people thought about the Flying V or the Explorer. You know, like those were supposed to be kind of, in a design sense, shocking and futuristic. And, you know, a lot of people are like, I'm not going to play that stupid thing.
Yeah.
But now, you know, that's one of in the Gibson, whatever it is, the facility out here, they got a shop. And
I'm
there's
aware that they have one. I don't even know what it is.
But they've got a Carina Explorer that's like worth, I don't know, some ungodly amount of money. And it's one of these futuristic guitars that I'm sure there was a point in time where someone looked at it and they're like, I'm not going to play that stupid thing.
Oh, fuck. Wesley, Stranger Things 4 with a picture of a Warlock.
But that's how they become cool again.
God, fucking Stranger Things.
Is the nostalgia and you know, media and whatever.
Can we talk about
looking at it again though?
Yeah.
It is cool.
It was kind of cool.
It is kind of cool.
It's kind of cool in front of like thunder and lightning.
Yeah.
You know, Stranger Things, I think, did a really interesting thing to our society because the 80s.
It was over.
Yes.
We were about to move past
the
it again.
80s came back in like, if you were really cool, like 2012, 2013. And then if you weren't that cool, maybe 2015, 2016, you caught on. Maybe. But right around when it was like kind of, there's like a, you know, the whole, what do you call it? Not parabola.
I think you're like 5
Bell
years
curve.
late on that.
Whatever. There's a bell curve of, the bell curve is early adopters.
Right.
Or sorry, it's innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority.
Keep talking while Wes is going to
Thank you. Pull up the bell curve, please. So that's how all trends happen. And so like the 80s revival happened and like it should have, and Stranger Things happened during like peak 80s revival. Mm-hmm. And then it should have been, thank you, innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, laggards. I forgot laggards.
Everyone does.
So Stranger Things happened during the late majority. Wesley, bring back that bell chart, please. Bell graph, bell curve. Thank you. I'm saying thank you to you is my brain. So somewhere around like over there in the last 30. Actually, let me explain this for people who don't know because you should know this. This is important. You guys know this, but
it's
others.
a great TED Talk about it.
Yeah, there is. Okay, so every time there's a trend, the first thing that happens is innovators. It says here on this bell chart Wesley has, 2.5% of people are innovators. Innovators go, hey, wouldn't it be cool to do this 80s shit? And no one else is doing it, and it's not cool, but they start making it cool. Mm-hmm. Then the early adopters, says 13.5% of people. 13.5% of people, early adopters go, whoa, look what they're doing. We got to spread this. I'm jumping on early.
I remember that. Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, 34% of people are the early majority. That's when like...
It's the people who didn't buy the first iPhone, but they bought the second one.
Yes. They start jumping on and they're like, 80s, hell yeah. The late majority. Where in the iPhone world is that, Jerry?
In late majority? Probably like, no, not even 3. It's when they shifted it to 4.
When people
because that was that big design change.
When people are jumping to Android, the late majority is like, oh, cool, iPhones. The 80s. So somewhere during the late majority, bringing it back, Stranger Things comes out, and we were supposed to get to just the laggards were on 80s.
Because the 90s were almost here. I was like, here we go. It's 90s time. I'm ready.
Alternative rock. No. Then Stranger Things Season 2 comes out. And all of a sudden, that like pumped it right back up. And every time Stranger Things releases a new season, it keeps the ride going. And there are major artists still putting out 80s sounding shit with Phil Collins drums.
I think that's about over though.
And it's been the majority of my adult life. People have been trying to make the 80s continuously cool.
That is such a cool guitar.
There's that, but I think there's also
Wesley's brought back the Warlock.
I think there's a targeting of one generation at a certain age where they're feeling nostalgic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Like growing up, like I said, I was, a child in the 80s, a teenager in the 90s, and listening to classic rock was the nostalgic music of like, because I said we're a musical family, so we were raised on like classic rock, right? So stuff like Zeppelin, The Doors, this is what, like late 60s, early 70s, whatnot. And so you take that same amount of time, and that's like my 17-year-old daughter listening to Nirvana, stuff from the 90s, the early 2000s, and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I remember hearing Nirvana on like a classic rock station one day. Like this was years ago. It's not even recent. And I was just like, this is not classic rock.
But the thing is, like when we were introduced to some like the Beatles or Led Zeppelin, it was their whole catalog was already done. Yeah. Right. So you didn't get to experience, or like Star Wars, you didn't get to experience that for the first time and go, whoa, this is something totally new to me. Right. The same way that we may have heard some of these more iconic, 90s and early 2000s artists, whereas now then the next generation or generation after generation, they can come in and it's, now they have the whole catalog and they don't get that first sense of it. Like, what is this? I've never seen this before.
Man. Yeah. It's crazy how fast things move, but at the same time, it's crazy how slow things move. Because like you're saying, it's like, trends come and go, sometimes insanely rapidly. And but then they come back. You're right. You never got to experience that original, but then they create a new. They
come back, but kind of a little
tweak, a little modernized.
A little weird. Yeah.
And like that cycle keeps continuing. I just feel like we've been stuck in the damn 80s since like my whole life. Like it started coming back when I was barely an adult, and it's just not going away. And I've never been a huge fan of the 80s, and I'm ready for it.
I like the 80s, but Wesley just pointed out that the When We Were Young festival is like,
yeah, you're right,
in alignment with the 25-year cycle and like pop music being played. But there is a big part of me that's like, okay, but when were the 90s going to come back though? Because I feel like, and I think they're trying to. Every so often, I hear some artists doing it. I heard the 1975 put out an album that had a lot of 90s-ish stuff on it. But it wasn't like completely in your face, but it was enough that I'm like, I think they're pulling from Third Eye Blind right now. And then, who did I just hear is very, very current is Laney. Do you guys know them? You're too old. Both of you.
I'm vaguely
and
aware.
Me. I just have to like be up on this shit. Anyway, Laney just came out with a track that I'm like, that is 90s alternative rock that they're doing.
Okay.
And I feel like all these guys that were like, we're kind of like 80s synth poppy art, I feel like they're transitioning to more of a 90s pop rock, borderline alternative rock thing. And I'm just hoping that it gets its day in the sun, because that's what I'm aiming for right now with my music is like 90s alternative rock. That's where I'm headed, and I'm just swimming and hoping that wave comes. But fucking pop punk might come and swallow it all up before I get there.
By that point, it's a formula. Whereas when it first starts, it may be a happy accident. It may be based on other influences. Like, I'm not saying it's entirely new, but it may be a new arrangement of sounds and genres and whatever. But what made it new was that it wasn't a formula. But now in retrospect, it's a formula. It's like, well, you want that 80s sound.
Yeah.
Right.
Here's the chorus. You probably know more about, you want this type of reverb on your snare or whatever that is,
Yeah. The AMS.
See, but I'm not satisfied with it just coming back in music. I want to see college kids walking around in like Jenko jeans and Osiris shoes and like a long sleeve white t-shirt underneath their short sleeve t-shirt for no reason. It's not that cold.
The bleached spikes.
I want to see frosted tips. Bring back frosted tips.
I used to just think that white long shirt under your normal t-shirt was the coolest thing.
Oh yeah, I've seen pictures of me like that. I'm like, ooh, look at that guy.
My parents didn't set me up for that.
I want to be yo-yoing. Like, I want all of it.
The wallet chains.
Oh, bring back wallet chains.
Did you guys ever have a what was it? The Bumblebee?
What?
Yo-yo?
Bumblebee? Oh, yeah. No, butterfly.
But
that's
that's another thing. There's a butterfly.
Okay, butterfly is where it flared out on the sides.
Yeah, but then there's that's the butterfly.
Real good.
But then there was the bumblebee. Now, I don't know, like, did you have this? Do you remember you had it? But do you remember when the mall all of a sudden had like a yo-yo stand? with
Yeah.
like lots of cool.
Oh yeah, Duncan. I remember
the Duncan
Duncan
butterfly.
brands.
Those are like
Yeah.
$15. Pull up the Bumblebee.
No, not if you get the good ones. All right, not if you get the top tier butterfly yo-yos.
The Bumblebee was about $35. And I remember it had a yellow and black alternating string.
Oh,
there you go.
That is familiar. You're right. You're right.
By
Sorry,
Max.
I missed this one.
Gotta love it.
You missed the yo-yo.
This
era?
is like
You're only like a few years older than us.
A little bit.
this is like a
Only a few.
97.
Okay.
How old were you in 97? Or what were
That
you?
was my junior year of high school.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you're like 3 years old.
So this
Yeah,
is
not
me
that
like
Yeah.
middle school.
yeah, same.
But
And
like,
then the biggest one of all, Wesley, the Yo Mega was cool, but they were like $8.99. But pull up the
I like that hamburger looking one.
the silver bullet. The silver bullet was
don't
like
remember that.
$50, and like one kid from school had it, and I was like,
Ooh, now
"You're
that's
fucking
cool.
I don't
rich."
remember that, but I went to
His-
a poor school, so
Yeah, his dad was an electrician, but we like
oh my god,
to everybody
Drink.
drink.
But even the yo-yo's like a retro throwback, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Right,
That was
yeah.
a throwback from way.
Because when we got into it, my grandpa, who was born in 1922, was like, "Oh, we had those when I was a kid. Let me show you how to walk the dog."
Here's some jaunty piano music.
Yeah.
But you just mentioned the mall. Like
Yeah.
the mall was a thing. Like
Oh, yeah.
like what is a mall now?
The mall
It's-
was the coolest.
Yeah, now it's
Right.
just a collection of stores,
yeah,
not a place you go and like hang out. I mean, maybe people still do. I don't know. I'm not in high school.
maybe, but it's definitely not.
I don't think so.
I mean, there's so many like abandoned malls, and because
Yeah.
think about it, like you can get your stuff elsewhere. Like it wasn't about shopping back then. It was
Right.
it was this social epicenter. I mean, for cool kids, not like I hung out with anyone or ever went to a mall. But that was like what you would attain to.
Oh man,
If only we could be so cool as to hang at a mall.
we
Right?
need to bring back something older, like Jax.
Jackson.
You know, like why did Jax never have a comeback? I mean, that's way too old even for me. But like, I remember my grandma taught me how to play Jax, and I was like, "This shit." Do you even know what that is, Wesley? Okay, I was like, "Are you too young?"
Marbles.
Yeah, that's the good shit.
You remember Pogs? Did you guys?
Oh,
yeah, dude. That was.
Dude.
I had that big 8-ball slammer. That was my jam.
They took those away from us at school because
Yeah, they-
it was gambling. They
Oh.
considered it. So
Yeah, they banned it at my school.
confiscated them. Yeah.
Remember when like gangs were a big thing back then?
I
They'd
think
be,
they probably still are.
they'd be like,
Beyblades
like
are coming back.
you can't
Gross.
wear that color shoelaces because that's a gang.
Mm.
Gangs do that.
Right. That might have just been because we grew up in Southern California, though. It was all like the Crips, the
There was
Bloods. Yeah. I mean, there was like gangs in my high school, but they were, I mean, I don't know how serious it was. I mean, they were like, I don't know. There was like riots at my high school and shit from it.
Yeah, I mean you were like inner city. My school out in the country did not have gangs.
It was more just like rival families, like the Hatfields and McCoys.
Yeah, it was very. I actually grew up in the same town as Co.
Drink.
And yeah, it wasn't really the country, but it was a little more rural than it wasn't the inner city. There's no
Right,
gangs,
right. Yeah.
but not quite Hatfield and McCoy's.
Okay.
So anyway,
All right.
okay. Anyway, so you build guitars. And I feel like once we get to like Hatfield and McCoy's is usually a good time to turn it back to music. That's kind of my line.
Either way.
And
Mm-hmm.
I got nothing to say.
You know a follow-up to that?
Yeah,
Oh, I was
there's no
expecting a follow-up there.
Yeah. Somebody snappy. Okay, so speaking of Co,
Mm-hmm.
I haven't checked in with him recently about this, but I know that since he moved here to Tennessee to join us, he's been periodically working with you, learning the craft, learning stuff. So what's that look like? Where's he at in his journey? Like how many steps does he have to be luthier?
It's an interesting question. Not many. I mean, like it's just a matter of time. Like time is the big enemy that we're all fighting. In our different instances. So he's got the skills, and then I mean, hey, what the heck? We're recording this, right? I think Co should be, and I've told him this. He should be focusing on or considering like his own line of guitars. Co has always been like the idea guy, and we did a a version of one of my guitars with a built-in fuzz circuit,
Mm.
and that really was his brainchild. He kind of orchestrated the whole relationship, and I mean, all I was just I built the guitars. We had a friend, Leon, who made the circuit, and they even like just by virtue of testing this circuit, Leon put it in an enclosure and tried it out, and that became one of Leon's pedals, like a production
cool.
pedal, which, you know, was really just kind of like a truncated, modified version of one of his existing ones. So anyway, Co has no shortage of ideas, and he's constantly hitting me up with like, hey, what if we did this? What if we did that? And, you know, again, my whole world background, whatever, is in like the graphic design side of things and stuff. And so my brand, so to speak, it's maybe not like, I don't have like good definitions about it, but I like to try to keep it kind of more on the conservative, like timeless type of stuff, you know?
Right.
So Co's ideas are a lot more adventurous than mine. He's got some great ideas, and he'll suggest something. It's like, you know what, maybe that's not right as an Equitz guitar, but like, dude, you should totally do this. Like, make something crazy. But the time issue is the hard part. So, you know, as far as being an actual luthier or not, it's really a matter of time. But we're working on a bass. My grand, super ultimate vision of Equitz Guitars it's not Kevin Equitz Guitars, you know. It'd be so much fun to see like my daughter get involved. My wife helps out quite a lot, actually. She's the personality. Like, I'm boring and lame. All I want to do is talk about guitars. Yeah. And my wife is I call her my secret weapon. You know, like, she helps me keep stuff organized. She went through and like labeled the drawers in the garage with all the stuff, because I kept looking like, where did I put that thing? She's like, all right, I'm gonna put labels on. But she helped me like come up with a spreadsheet system to kind of track my build queue and all this kind of stuff. But then even still, it's the guitars, like I said before, that's just part of it. You know, we're trying to be like people that build guitars, and so, you know, having people over at the house and working with other musicians and things, like, the best thing I can do is introduce them to my wife. And that's how I feel about Co as well. It's like, he's been part of Equitz Guitars, like, with all his ideas and helping arrange, you know, conversations with people and all this. And so, I mean, any way that I can keep him like somehow involved, you know, is really to my benefit for sure. So we're working on a bass, and what I would love is to see him kind of just build the experience. I know he's got the skills and the capability. It's just a matter of like getting through shaping not just one neck, but maybe shaping a few necks, and you can kind of like work through when something goes wrong versus, you know, having to always go right or whatever. So we're working on a bass for him, which is kind of a cool, it's a 32-inch scale. Standard scale length on a regular 4-string is 34-inch. So that's the speaking length of the string. Some 5-strings would go 35-inch.
I feel like my bass 6 is shorter, but I don't.
It could be, yeah. The bass 6s are usually shorter. Baritone guitars, you know, they're kind of in that range. So a short scale bass, baritone guitar, those are often kind of close to each other, usually around like the, you know, 28-ish range. So 32 is this kind of odd in-betweener. It's not quite a short scale bass, but it's not standard. And we've heard really good things about just the way that the strings feel at tension. You know, it's exciting to try. And so with every guitar project, you know, I'm trying to add something new, something I haven't done before while I can, right? Because there's a lot that I haven't tried. And so this was a cool opportunity. Like, let's try a short scale bass, and let's you know, go, you know, take this home and you know, radius the fretboard and bring it back when it's done. And
wow.
Yeah, he's been working on it while he can. And, you know, he's had a lot of life going on. You know, he's got a job and a family and all this other stuff too. So, yeah, I can't wait to see how his bass comes out. And I hope he's always, like, you know, part of Equitz Guitars. But I really would love to see him be able to just even if he's not building, but just cranking out more of his ideas,
It's like designing guitars.
Yeah.
Is there a job out there for like, I have ideas for a guitar?
I don't know. See, so many of these like boutique-y builders are more. There are a lot of people like me. I'm not unique at all. There are a lot of people that are kind of a small operation, working out of their home, just building the guitars, and it tends to be like you are the person that does the woodwork. You're the person who does the electronics, the finishing, not a lot of that gets outsourced. And then you're also your own marketing department and all that other stuff. So even if there were opportunities to add somebody, like it's not a lucrative industry. It's not, it's not like he could get well paid.
Yeah.
Like he would have to just do it. He'd have to just kind of be his
own thing.
His own thing.
You can't like sign up and be like, I got some ideas for guitars, and they're just like, here's $1 million for all your great ideas for
I don't
guitars.
think it quite works like that.
It would be nice, honestly. That would be really nice to be like a guitar designer.
What if there were a world where you just, as a kid, you grew up, you have your dreams, whatever, and you're like, this is my dream job. Like, so let's say for Co, it's like designing bizarre and unique guitars. Like, what if you just automatically got to have that dream job and you got paid really well? Like, to be
The world would fall
completely
apart
comfortable
real fast.
to have that dream job. Talk to me about that.
Well, no one would be like, my dream job is to, I don't know, there's a bunch of shit jobs out there. Pick one. It's to work on an oil rig.
Yeah.
Nobody's dreaming of that. But we want the oil, at least for now.
So in my fantasy world, all the needs are taken care of. I think I just invented communism on accident.
Or like, I've gotten into audiobooks while I work. And
Nice.
so there was one of these kind of futuristic things where, and it was in the year 2050. You mentioned
when the
great
great
Great shutdown
yeah.
happens, yeah.
and there was a great shutdown. But they
memory.
have like robots, AI
Nice.
kind of robots doing all those menial jobs that people don't
Thank
want
you,
to do.
Jerry.
Maybe that's where we're headed towards.
Oh,
So
yeah.
anyway.
100%. AI works on oil rigs, farms food, etc. And then they're just like, kid, what do you want to do? And you're like, I want to design new animals. And they're like, okay, why
Yeah,
not?
right.
And then you do. And then
Stupid kid.
it's
But
very
now,
Napoleon Dynamite. This is a giraffe. Anyway.
now you
A liger.
skills
aggressively bringing
and
it back
magic.
to music, which is something I never do.
Oh, this is you. Oh,
yeah.
everybody's taking a turn aggressively pulling it back to music today.
You had mentioned right before we started, or maybe when we took a break, that you had actually brought a couple of your guitars with
Oh, yeah.
you. I think it would be great if we could bring those, show them on the cameras, talk about them a little
Yeah.
bit and how they're
Sure.
kind of the deals,
And-
if you're cool with that.
Absolutely. Thank you. And to kind of tee that up, so much of what I've been doing were like custom guitars, which is very special to me. Like that someone would trust me with, because it takes a time and it's expensive. And, like you were saying, I would love to do my own guitar, but I don't have the time, I don't have the money. And it's like,
Right.
well, let me do it. So I feel like it's an honor to build a guitar for somebody.
And just for people who don't know, a custom guitar is like they talk to you and give you ideas, and
Yeah.
you're like,
So-
okay, I can do this, that, the other.
And from my available, there are 4 shapes on my site, but there's a lot we can do with those. We can do different color configurations, pickups, hardware. But to that point, though, as again from the graphic design realm, commercial art kind of thing, if all you're doing is what other people have asked, then your portfolio is really being created by everyone else. Right? You have some say. You can limit the menu, right? We all know in and out, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
so you have basically 3 things to pick from, not counting the whole secret menu. But that you pick one thing, there are really only 2 things that you could have gotten. So less chance of regret, right?
Right.
And the other example would be like 31 flavors, which doesn't actually have 31. But if they did, you pick one and then you got 30 others like, should I have gotten that instead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So by
That sounds
narrow,
like every experience my wife ever has.
yeah.
100% doubt in her choices.
But like when you go to some restaurants or whatever, and the menu is like a book, or the menu is like 3 things, right? They're controlling. they're giving you some choice, but they're also kind of controlling the variables. So it's not like anything that I've been asked to do is anything I would not want to promote. But it's like there are ideas. They're not as cool as Co's ideas, but I do have some ideas of my own. And it's like, well, shoot, I would like to put some of these out there if I could. But all my time has been customer guitar, like custom. And so working in just kind of by circumstance, one of the guitars out there is a double bound. So one customer that I was working with, they weren't sure how wide they wanted the binding. So I was able to make two bodies, not painted, but I just put the binding on both of them. One like this and one that was a lot wider. And they went with this one. So I had a bound body that was sitting in the shop forever. No one bought. I tried, someone like, oh, I want a Rayburn. Like, hey, I got one that's double bound. Like, I'm not into that. So those kind of, little opportunities come up, and it's like, well, I want to do one. do I have a say? So just kind of working with colors or combinations or whatever. And so that's been, again, with my list, there are custom guitars. There hopefully will always be, people on the list. But kind of filling some of those spots with, well, okay, so now I want to feather in some of these builds that are out of my own head that, they're not going to like revolutionize the world, but I think they could push the brand forward. I've got some cool ideas for baritone, 12-string, like different hardware, different things that somebody maybe hasn't asked for, but I think would be really cool to put out there and try to offer up and
nice.
Get a read on what
I think I need to get on the list for the baritone 12-string.
It's coming. So anyway, that's what these two are. They were just kind of, I don't want to call them leftovers, like it's something bad, but it's just other projects and things. It's like I had some extra,
Right.
Someone changed their mind about this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Someone changed their mind, but I'm going to keep that and I'll build something around it. So both of these two guitars were basically like kind of like design challenges. Like, well, I've got extra paint. I'm going to shift the color a little bit and, use up what's left over from this. And I've got this extra wood from this and I'll put this together and
okay.
That's how they are.
So why don't we take just a quick break and we're going to go grab those guitars so we can show all y'all what to make sure we're not lying. He actually makes guitars.
Yeah. Cool. This is a great time to mention, if you listen to this podcast with audio and you didn't know that you could see it with video, you're slow. And it is on YouTube and Spotify. I only say that because we say it every week. Mm-hmm. If you're on Spotify, it's immediately, you should know how to do the video on there, or otherwise it's on YouTube. But Kevin's holding a guitar. I'll describe for audio only people. I would call this color rusty red. What do you call it?
Clay or brick?
Kevin, what's it actually called?
I don't know. It's not called anything.
Did you mix those colors?
Yeah. Yeah, so this one, the story about this neck is it's maple fretboard, maple neck, and it's got this cool kind of a, I don't know, it's kind of a knot, but kind of a flaw in the wood. And I love flaws in the wood, right?
Because of character.
Yeah.
Bro, Wesley, write down episode title, Flaws in the Wood.
There you go. It's like people, perfect people. If they existed, they wouldn't be that interesting. Perfection is not really interesting anyway. Like, as we were talking about art and design, and, imperfection, imbalance kind of should be the goal. So anyway, this one, this white headstock, the maple is kind of light, just wood-wise in character, and it's got white binding on it. So there's a lot of white on this one. This was from a customer guitar, and the customer ended up basically changing their minds. They got the guitar, and they're like, this isn't really... they just changed their mind. And so the neck was from, there was nothing wrong with it. They liked the way it played and everything, but they just,
They decided it wasn't their flavor?
Yeah, I mean, for a number of reasons. It just, they changed their mind.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I took it back and kind of built the rest of the guitar around it. I wanted to mess with kind of in the red family, but not like your basic red.
Right,
Not
like fire truck red or
Yeah.
whatever.
It's actually really similar to the color we have painted all along the bottom of the walls.
Yeah, there's more red in
Yeah.
that than this is
Put
more orangey.
it's a little more red, but put it against the wall.
looks great in here, actually.
It's like
Yeah.
basically camo. Yeah, in front of that gray panel, bringing
Yeah.
that red up into the gray. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk afterwards on how much we have to pay to have that as a set decoration.
So yeah, there were there was some colors I wanted to experiment with. Like red is very like tricky. If you make it light, it's pink. Yeah. If you add too much of like your complementary colors, it turns kind of this weird brown nasty thing. So
Yeah.
my angle is always maybe a little too conservative and plain, but there were others that I had seen that were kind of like a little bit lighter, but like more neutralized red, and so that was something I wanted to try. This is also one pickup, but it's got 3 controls on it, and so Sean at Gun Street Wiring, he's this amazing guy that, soldering is something I can do, but usually it's late in the process, and bringing a hot soldering iron after like close to this after working on it for so long makes me a little nervous. And the guy does amazing. It's beautiful. He does all the heat shrink and he comes up with all these cool ideas. So it was a funny thing. Trying to just work the limitation on this one was working with what I already had. So I already had a pick guard that had 3 holes in it. And so I told Sean, I'm like, all right, one pickup guitar, I got 3 holes. Like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
So this is like your regular tone control, like for the treble, but then this is like a bass contour. So this is a noiseless P90 pickup. So just with this one pickup, like there are a lot of combinations you can get with the sound, even just kind of rolling the volume off, like they're all interactive, which is kind of fun.
What is a bass contour?
I don't know.
Does it just change the frequency of where the bass is?
Yeah, all
the
these
tone
tone controls, to simplify them, it's a variable resistor with a capacitor that the signal goes through. So they'll basically either grab, throw off.
I love to half the audience. You just said, basically, to simplify it, the translator comes into the crop.
But I don't know what the value of the resistor is. I don't know like how to pick one.
So so Sean kind of helps you with that.
Yeah.
You're like, I kind of want to
wiring,
volume time, and he sort of does
Right.
that electronic side of it.
And it's passive, so it's not like an active tone circuit. This is all just passive stuff. So with the one pickup, that gives you a bit of range. We were just talking about like the benefit of limitations, but then also flexibility. So this was kind of a fun exercise in that.
Yeah, that'd be tough for me. I'm a big flexibility guy.
Right.
I want one thing to do everything.
And that's, that's fun, but that ends up, yielding like option paralysis, right?
Right. Well, yeah, and a lot of times mediocre results.
Sometimes, yeah.
Not always.
Not always, but yeah, it could. And the Rayburn, this is a Rayburn model.
Now, Rayburn is a design you made.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, some people would see the obvious Telecaster in this. Some would see the Epiphone Wilshire, and yeah, they're all in there. So it's designing a guitar is difficult. You can make any shape you want, but to make it functional, to make it comfortable, to make it visually, in design school, you learn appeal, comprehension, and retention. Is it understandable? Is it memorable? Is it appealing to look at? And so that was kind of the design challenge with this one, but also from just a production standpoint, something that I could try to make as quickly as possible, but still, high quality, and to be like utilitarian. So the ideal design of this is to be a single pickup. It is routed for a neck pickup, so someone really has to have a neck pickup in here, and we can put one in. But honestly, I love the idea of single pickup guitars. I think they're so great. It's like a effects pedal with just one knob on it, right? Just relinquish some of the control, let it go.
So I can't. Don't make me do that.
You can.
Well, I'll tell you. In my mind, never in real life, but in my mind, I designed like my perfect pickup setup, and it's out of control.
Yeah.
So I want single, humbucker single, but I want that one to be coil tappable, and I also want to be able to select the bridge and neck without the center, because that's what I love about a Tele. And I was like, with this setup, I can do any combination in the world, and that's like my dream.
But this is why you're an Android and PC guy.
I want to do whatever I want.
But the thing is, like, you know, and this is not just because I build guitars. If I didn't, I would still say the same thing. Like, my recommendation would be to have more guitars instead of one guitar that can do everything, right? Because I'm a firm believer that even just the color of a guitar, the weight of it, the feel of it, like, it's gonna, if done right, it should pull music out of you. And I don't know, Ryan, in your experience too, you know, it's like you put something in somebody's hands and it's like, you know, oh, hey, they get comfortable, or maybe they're uncomfortable. And that is that's the challenge. And then something comes out of that. So, there are a lot of predictable, you know, multifaceted things out there. That's one of the beauty. That's one of the beautiful things about an environment that is so saturated as like custom guitars is you can get any kind of Telecaster you want. You could get something with all the frets and active controls and all the bells and whistles and all that. So it's out there. If somebody wants it, it's probably out there. That gives me the freedom to say, like, you know what, maybe relinquish some control. Like, try one pickup. Just try it. We can put another in. Just try it, you know? So yeah, that's the story with this one.
Okay. So with this, I love the color on this one.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that color. But I've noticed, because you were spinning it around, you also have a contour on the back here.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is so attractive. I don't know if that's the right word, but something about that is so drawing to the eye. And like the way you have the neck set, I feel like it's really unique.
Well, that's like utilitarian, you know, for people. I don't know how to play up here. I don't even like the way it sounds up here, but some people do, and they know what to do with this spot. But just from a design sense, this is the one spot that's supposed to fit in your hand where the body meets the neck. And when you look at, again, not to pick on Fender, but out of their whole ergonomic shape, that's the one
squared
spot
off there.
with corners.
Yeah.
Right? It's so bizarre. It's probably a production decision. But this contour, honestly, each Rayburn I do, these are probably different. They should be different. This one, because it's double bound, will be different. But I like to freehand this with the router just so that it's different every time.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah,
That's
this is something I put in all my guitars. This kind of contour. It's really just kind of a visual
Yeah,
thing
it looks great.
to you know, translate the shape.
Is there like psychology and talking guitar world about like the shape of a guitar being like similar to the shape of like a woman or a theoretical
Yeah,
hourglass
I've heard that.
shape?
Yeah. I mean, there is obviously some form, or I'm sorry, some function to the form, you know, because you'd want it to like sit on your leg, and then like, you know, I like to put this contour in here because, like, this is one of the reasons why I think jazz masters are so comfortable is they got that extended upper horn, and it's you know, rounded off, and it feels comfortable, like if you're sitting and playing. So that's something I like to build in. Aside from, I think it looks cool. But yeah. It's not a I don't know.
Accident.
It's not an accident. It is a coincidence. I think I think it's more so like there's something appealing about that shape. I don't know if someone said, I want to make a guitar shaped like a woman. That'd be kind of creepy.
Yeah, though I'm sure it's been done.
But maybe like the first guy who made a guitar is like, I want an instrument that looks like a woman. And then they played it and they were like, it's actually pretty sound good, dude. And that's how guitars were created. Another thing I want to point out before we move to the next guitar, which it's true on the next guitar as well. But I think it's really interesting that you only have 2 dots on the fretboard.
On 12.
And they're down there. That's the 12th fret. Yeah. So 2 dots. And I kind of was looking at them when you talked about in design having things that are like, what was the word? Not off center. Use a different word. Imbalanced. Is that kind of the idea there? What's the deal with just having 12th fret?
Yeah.
But you do. I should say you do have the dots. Like
Right.
if you're looking at it from the top,
Above.
you have the dots. Yeah.
For the most part, if you're playing, like, you're going to see the top dots. Like, not everybody is looking at these. Honestly, I think these are most useful if you're playing with somebody else and they're watching your hand and they're trying to, like, oh, okay, he's on the 5th fret. So that might get lost on one of mine. I'm not opposed to doing more dots, but it's I don't know. They call it irreducible complexity, like the mousetrap principle. Like if you take any one component away, it stops working. I mean, technically we don't need any dots, but I like to just kind of indicate the 12th and then leave it the heck alone.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah, so that's the standard thing on an Equitz guitar.
Yep. And I like to do 23 frets
Why?
because 21 was kind of the initial like common standard, and then 22 was a big deal. That was an extension, and then they jumped to 24 because that's where the octave repeats. So I'm not the only person doing 23 fret guitars, but I like 23 just because it's like, why not?
Yeah. Now this is the double bound one you were talking about.
Yeah.
Right? And which they can see in the angle, I guess, right now.
Yeah.
You can
If
see how
you're
that
not
binding is
watching,
thick.
but you should click and watch this new guitar.
This guitar did not want to be made. This one fought me every step of the way. The neck and the body came from different projects or different leftover things, but this I had a constant battle with this one, even like down to just making the pick guard.
Yeah. Now this is the same body style.
Same body style.
It looks slightly. Well, I guess maybe probably just the binding make me feel like it looks different.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's pretty similar. Like, some of the contours won't be as steep because I wanted to keep...
Oh, I like how you took that back binding into that back contour as well.
Yeah,
That's really
so
nice.
I wanted to take the contour down as close as I could to kind of still keep that bound look without totally breaking the line.
Yeah, I mean back by the neck socket, how you went into the contour. I really like that.
Yeah,
Now,
because it has to
simplifying,
connect.
this guitar is blue. And I'm in love with. So it's blue. To me, you must have thought of this. This blue and this red are like, they feel completely complementary.
Yeah.
They feel
It
like,
feels like a set,
they
yeah.
belong together. In the same way, like both of them are like a more of a matte finish,
Yeah, they are.
and they are both like, if you picture like what red is and you picture what blue is, these are like slightly desaturated.
Yeah, and that's me.
A
Again,
slightly desaturated guy. Wesley, name title of the
Yeah,
episode.
the episode.
like bold colors.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to do them, but left to my own devices, I feel like, because some people, they love the guitar to draw attention. They want it sparkles and bright colors, and just for me personally, I don't feel like enough of a stable guitar player to draw that much attention to myself. So I'd rather blend in, and this was an oops color that I was trying to get a more vibrant blue, and it was going in a different direction, and so I kind of scrapped it. Well, I didn't
love
throw it away, but I set it aside, and I started with a different base color, because what I like to use for color is milk paint. It's yeah, I know it's actually made with like milk, like powdered milk. It'll smell bad if you like leave it out for a while, but it's
Weird.
nice because it's like it doesn't have all the VOCs of volatile.
So your guitar is
organic
going to go bad after a little while, or
Yeah, this one it smells like old cheese.
That guitar is spoiled.
But I like to use water-based finishes on these as opposed to like the traditional lacquer. My joke is that I feel like lacquer is like the machine in The Princess Bride that takes years off your life. That stuff it's hard to. I mean, it's easy to use in terms of like spraying it, whatever. But it's like you got to use chemicals to clean up the chemicals, and it's flammable, and it stinks. It'll stink up your whole. My shop is my garage, so if I stink up the garage, I'm going to stink up the house, and I don't know. It's not necessary anymore. So,
Do you make your own milk paint?
no, actually, I buy it. I buy like the basic colors, and then I'll mix the colors. But yeah, you could buy it as a powder, and then like you mix with water. Yeah.
Wow.
So you said the guy didn't like the double binding.
Well, he just went with a different
Where do you want-
width.
What
right,
is a
this was
double
your, Oh, right.
binding?
This was your. We'll see how the binding is so thick,
Is
and
that
also
the-
on both.
Is
also
that
on
the
both
white
sides.
color on both sides?
Yeah, the origin of binding is like on your arch tops and your acoustic guitars. That's a glue joint where the top meets the side, and there would be this little strip inside that's kind of that both parts glue together. And so what you could do is route in a little channel and glue in, usually like plastic or another strip of wood, and it would protect that glue joint with having something kind of perpendicular up against it. So visually, we all kind of got trained to see like an outline around guitars.
Yeah.
Double binding, I think, is, nowadays it's really just kind of a preferential, just a visual thing.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, that was one of the things I noticed about the guitar first that I really loved. I didn't have those words, but just for the unacquainted, it has 2 white stripes along
striped.
the outside, and it's just really cool. And another thing I noticed about this, both the red guitar and the blue guitar, they look like very vintage colors. Like, it's very 50s to me.
mm-hmm.
This blue and this red go together very well on like an ad for something in the 50s. It has that desaturated classic look where it's like a very vibrant, catch your attention color, but it just looks like it's aged. Like, this guitar looks vintage out of the box.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. That's, I don't know. I feel like that's a win. It should look like something that was old but is brand new.
Yeah.
And that's playing off of what I feel like we've all been conditioned to respond to with guitar shapes and colors.
Right. Like, I know the what's it called? I forget what the word is for it when they false age, like a
Relic.
guitar, relicking a guitar, which I know is a really popular thing. A lot of people love it. I personally can't stand it because I'm like, just beat the shit out of it yourself. But I know a lot of people love it. But I love the idea of an old style but brand new.
Yeah.
And that gives me that opportunity to then spend the next 30 years wrecking it,
Yeah. No, relicking, some would say, and I agree, in a sense, this is your visual brand. Like, with bands, you're going to perform. If you saw any guitars on a stage before the band's going to, like, you don't know. Like, maybe you came to see a band and the opener has their gear up stage. And if you see a Warlock, you'd be like, what the...
Right.
Yeah, that tells a lot. Can I hold that guitar?
Yeah, please.
I've looked at it for far too long.
Yeah.
I need to feel it.
So yeah, I feel like
What is this shape called again?
Rayburn.
Rayburn.
The relicking is cool in the sense that, like, it's a prop. It's if that's part of your brand and it, you want it to look weathered and that's fine. But yeah, I agree with you also in the sense that put your own marks on it, tell your own story. Each, for a person who cares about a guitar, each ding, each scratch was like, that's that one place, that one person dropped this or knocked it over or whatever.
Yeah, I have a PRS with a chunk missing out of the headstock,
Yeah.
the tip of the headstock.
That's a story.
Yeah, and I swear to God, you know who did it? Nobody's ever admitted it, and I've asked. It was either Co or Ryan.
Which guitar?
My PRS that I used to play in the Danny Marie band.
It seems more like
we were
me
at a
than it
show.
seems like Co.
We were playing a show at Horton Plaza, San Diego, and it was leaned up against my amp. And I came back, and it was still leaned up against my amp, but now a piece was chipped off.
See, and
God, that feels more like me than it feels like Co. I gotta say. Drink.
That's exactly the point, though. Is that is a story,
Right?
There's a time and a place and a
Horton
circumstance.
Plaza.
And every time I see that guitar, I think about that. You know?
So you could synthesize that, sure. And dude, that would make the build process like, man, if I could just put out relic guitars, and again, not to knock anybody that does those in a production sense, but
it's
like,
preference thing. Yeah.
oh man, if I didn't have to worry about trying to sand them out and polish them and
Make
all
it
that kind of
perfect.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my guitars are not perfect. Like that one. There are things that I don't want to point them out, but
Sure.
there are things that are not perfect on it that are a representation of the fight that thing gave me, building it, and so I want to leave them in there. Like same with the wood, knots. There's one that I just finished. I just shipped it out this morning. There's a big old knot on the back of the guitar, which is awesome.
That's cool,
because
yeah.
it's not in any sort of a structural or whatever. It just, and it's on the back, so no one will see it other than the person that owns it.
Is it okay if I let Jury touch it?
Of course, yeah.
My hands
I
aren't
had to call
wet.
that out like maybe
Yeah,
he's
just
a bad
keep in
influence.
mind that one didn't want to exist. So,
Can I see the red one?
yeah, sure. It will. This one.
Touching them, I mean,
This one practically built itself. So this one wants to live. This one just wants to
Wants to
get
die.
dented and scratched and dinged and cracked.
After watching you hold these and describe them, like to touch them feels so cool. Like it's like
Yeah.
I was just at an art museum for 20 minutes and now I get to like touch the Picasso. Speaking of, I was at the Art Institute in Chicago recently.
Yeah.
The
and
Art Institute.
in Chicago, not the school. It's like
Oh, okay. I was like, they went out of
a
business.
famous art museum.
What is the fret? Is this ebony?
That's ebony. Yeah.
Is this Ivory?
Maple.
Stevie Wonder jokes. No, not Stevie Wonder. Michael Jackson? Ebony and Ivory. Who wrote that?
I don't know who wrote it, but I think of Michael Jackson.
Yeah, Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney together, right? Yeah, anyway. So
He's Googling it right now.
we were at the
He's good.
we're at the Chicago Art Institute.
Nothing gets past us. Okay, sorry.
And and so Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson, right? Oh, wait, and sung by Wonder. Fuck yes.
We were all right.
Everyone was right.
Everyone wins.
So we're at the Art Institute, and the famous piece of art, American Gothic.
Yeah.
With, if you're not acquainted at home, two farmers look so sad next to each other.
Yeah, very famous.
So I'm at American Gothic, and I'm like, Ashley, grab my photo in front of American Gothic, and I got, I guess, too close. Ashley claims that my arm brushed the frame. In either case, I didn't feel it. But I'm the kind of motherfucker that did some PRS at Art Plaza. But I was just like, me and American Gothic. And this security guard's like, step back from the painting. And I'm like, and then I was just
To be
fucking...
fair, rightfully so.
Maybe. But then I was fucking pissed. They had, at the Art Institute, I noticed they had like little laser sensors in front of these famous works of art. And if you got too close, it would start beeping at you and yelling at you. Or potentially a security guard would.
Scream
but
at you.
one of the pieces of art was a very cool, very stylized piano somebody made. Like just they tried to make the household piano into a work of art. And, it was probably from the 20s or 30s or something. And it's displayed here. And I was like 1 foot from it. And then it started beeping at me, like back up. And something made me mad about that.
Yep.
Because I'm like,
That's a nerve. For
yes. The person who designed it to be played, and now it's being held here by assholes who care not and are just like, don't touch that. It's a work of art. Because you know how Chicagoans talk.
Just like that.
No, you're absolutely right. Well, just recently I got there, and let me shout them out. There's a cool shop in, we would call it Lebanon, but it's Lebanon.
Yeah.
Out here.
Lebanon Taisai.
Jack's Guitarcheology. So guitar,
that's a great
archaeology,
name.
smashed together.
Nice.
Cool guy. And I didn't get it from his shop. I feel bad, but I went to go meet him. We talked. We may have a Equitz guitar in his shop. A little collaboration going on. But he had all these really cool, funky old guitars. Like stuff from retro stuff, 60s, 50s, whatever. And so we had my wife and I spotted some antique stores when we were coming in. We're like, oh, let's buzz through there because every now and then we like to collect stuff that looks like maybe something our grandmas would have owned, and we like to put that in our home.
Yeah.
And so I saw this. It was a Stella from the 60s, so kind of a parlor-sized guitar, not high-end. I think it's probably made out of maybe some wood and mostly synthetic stuff. But it was the tag on it was like an insult. It was it's like it had been condemned. It said something about may not be a good player, probably better off as wall art or something like that. And I was like, oh, that is so insulting to this,
right. A piece of history practically.
It's supposed to be, there are hundreds of these things,
Sure.
millions, I don't know, whatever. It's not even a rare guitar, but it's that's so mean. This thing was supposed to make music. And so I took it as a personal challenge. It's well, screw whoever wrote that. This thing is going to work again. And I'm not even a repair person, So I, you want to
Switch guitars.
Here, I'll hold this one.
You got to try this one.
So I adopted it. I didn't even buy it. I adopted it. And, took the tuners apart and greased them up and whatever and put some straight. So it's still cracked. There are obvious flaws, but if you strum it, it makes a sound. And so, if I were really good at this, I would look up when there was at one point, mankind created tools, and probably not long after that, mankind decorated their tools. Right. And there's a thing about not only is this axe or something is here and this helps me eat and survive, but this one is mine. And
Yeah.
This one belongs to me, and it is so special to me that I'm going to adorn it with.
This is my guitar. There are many like it, but this one is mine.
Yeah. You will give your guitar a woman's name. No. But anyway, like the idea of people will say, "Oh, guitars are tools, and guitars are not." Why not both, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, they are tools and art, and I think, and again, okay. Some people, they may make these most amazing guitars with all the figured woods and the gold and the inlay. It's where you would never want to play it. You know, you'd hang it on a shelf with some uplighting and a glass like dome around it, and it's cool. Do your thing. That's just not what I want to do.
Right.
Like, and this is why I want to make them simple, is like, because I want them to be played. I would love, and this has happened, you know, my brother, I made one for my brother, and he's like burned through the finish like a couple times. And that's the biggest compliment.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Because, and I always say this whenever I can, to watch him play, because he plays so much like more technical, cool. Like he's always been so much better than I am at guitar, and it's totally cool because to watch him play like he does on a guitar that I made for him feels better than to be able to play like he does. To know that, like, dude, he's doing what he does with something that I made, right? Like, how cool is that? And so the last thing I'd want.
Is your brother better than you?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, wow. Because you're really good.
Oh, he's way better. He's better at life, just in general. He's
Fuck that guy. This is Russia.
He's a great guy. But anyway, like the last thing I'd ever want to do is make something that's so elaborate or so, you know, whatever, that no one plays it.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't want to make anything sloppy. That's not an excuse. But one builder that I was, you know, kind of learning from and talking to, you know, he was telling me that his shop was literally in the same center as a Guitar Center. And he's like, if somebody wants a perfect guitar, they can go get a factory guitar just a few doors down. It's going to be a lot cheaper, and they can get it right now, and it's going to be perfect. He goes, but people, because this guy had been building for a long time, he had a reputation, and he had this arch. We were talking about arch tops, right?
Yeah.
This arch top and this gorgeous wood and all this stuff.
Oh, so he's a luthier.
He's a luthier, and he's like, just this wood. This is $1,500 worth of wood, and it wasn't even assembled. This is like, he was just cutting it out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, man, how do you take like a sharp metal tool to like just this much material? And he goes, you just can't. Like he wasn't, I think he's from Poland. Like he had a real thick accent, you know, and English wasn't his first language. But he's like, you can't worry about it. He's like, just let it go. And he goes, if a guitar is too perfect, I'll put a little.
Really?
He kind of went like this. And he doesn't do sloppy work, but you know, you're buying something made by a person. You know, machines don't even build guitars. Machines can cut guitar parts, you know. So this is not a criticism of CNC or anything like that. But you're buying the builder when you buy the guitar. You know, you're buying something that was made by them, and hopefully there's some evidence of them on it. You know, even Stradivarius, like they've done studies in some of the ways that they can identify a Stradivarius as, you know, tool marks, right? So he didn't erase his presence from the instrument, right? Like there's still, and we talked about these things living on beyond the person. I mean, who cares who Kevin Equitz is? You know, in another 200 years, that's going to be even more irrelevant. But still, like, if I could leave a fingerprint or something just to say, like, hey, this was made by a person in a garage. It's not sloppy, but this was made by a person, and it's a tool.
I'm just
Use it and play.
the right amount of beers in that what you just said caught me. Like, for the
Here, I'll give this back to you.
for the first time,
I feel nervous holding it over here.
It's all good.
for the first time in my brain, I was just like, dude, there is like a Kevin Equitz of 200 years ago. There's a, I don't know, Sladen Martzowicz, who
Sure.
200 years ago, guy
Famously.
who lived, who like did really cool shit. Like if you sat down with him, you could have a rad conversation. He made some cool guitars, let's say. I mean, guitars were around then, probably acoustic. He made like rad acoustic guitars.
Luthier.
He's a luthier, a real one.
A real one.
Okay.
Yeah.
None of this sloppy electric shit.
No, a real one.
real luthier, and
Yeah.
he fucking is dead. And no one anymore remembers him. And there's like maybe a
someone's
grave
got one of his
somewhere, but
guitars.
it's like mostly erased.
Mhm.
You know what? That is a great ending. But someone has one of his guitars. So to Sladen you know.
But that's the other thing is like Fender, right? Okay, and Fender wasn't even a guitar player. Like, but to look at maybe some of these builders that maybe their name lives on. Maybe they sold like Collings, for example. Bill Collings, amazing guitar maker. But Collings guitars are not made by Bill Collings anymore. You know, like it's a company. Even Taylor guitars, like. But if
I think, by the way, Collings was the other guitar that Dawson Hollow had.
yeah, Ben has a very nice Collings. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the two guitars. It's the Blue Devara and the Collings. That's what's used on that album.
But the thing is, like, that's just the name, right? Like, if you had the option of getting a Taylor guitar, this is assuming money, you know, whatever, or could you have one that Bob Taylor himself made with sandpaper and chisels and blood, sweat, and tears?
Yeah, so
right?
much cooler.
Right?
So much cooler.
So obviously, I'm no Bob Taylor, but there are so many other builders, and if we're bringing this in for landing, this is, you know, what I want to put out there is there are so many other builders that do this, that care about this, that love the craft to the point where they're willing to maybe put out fewer guitars because they want to do it the hard way. You know, they want to put the love into it, and that, you know, if anyone out there, you know, is ever interested in you know, getting something like this that would be kind of a snapshot in time, you know, something that would outlive them, a tool that they can make music with that is, you know, some sort of a personification of themselves. I'm happy to make recommendations. Like, it doesn't have to be from me. There are so many amazing builders out there that love this, that would treasure the honor to build a guitar like that. So
2 questions for you.
Hit me up. I would love to make recommendations.
2 questions for you. 1, top 3 builders other than yourself that you would recommend, that you're just like, or at least you personally love.
Okay, personally, one of the first ones I would say is Paul Roney. Sadly, at this point in his life right now, he's not building guitars. He may come back to it, and that's one of those things. Like, if, you know, we get the tornado warnings or whatever, I have one Roney that I was able to acquire a trade deal, and that's the first one that gets put away, because if anything happens to it, it's done.
There's
I
no
could
others.
just hit him up and have him build me another one. But Paul Roney, it's spelled like Honey, Rhoney. If you look up his previous work, super cool guy. One of these people that invested in me just as a person and encouraged me a ton. You know, some of the other people that I would say are just really, really good people. Gosh, it's hard because there are so many. One that comes to mind is Drew Walsh Guitars. Really cool guy. His whole angle is like these retro, funky, like Japanese and Italian. Like, there was an era where the electric guitar was huge, right? 50s, 60s. And so, you know, there were some of these import things that were just space age and weird, crazy. And so he does that, but in kind of a more like approachable, like high quality kind of sense. Jonathan Fellows is he's a really, really good. All these I'm going to say, he's a really good guy, but he's a really good guy.
Every time I hear his name, I go, Jonathan Fellows.
Okay,
from SNL. No,
Brian
Fellows, SNL. Anyway, it was a Tracy Morgan bit.
Okay.
Anyway,
I always tell Jonathan, I say, when I grow up, I want to build guitars like he does. His is some of the cleanest work I've ever seen.
Is he like in his like he's older than 40?
He's maybe just a few years older than me, but it's like he builds like he's been doing it for a long time. Like, his work is super clean.
Yeah,
way
I've
cleaner
met
than
him.
mine.
He's like the nicest down to earth guy.
Down to earth. He's an awesome dude. And there are so many more.
But you're not allowed to say them because I said 3.
Yeah, those are just some of the ones that come to mind. Just because, again, it's not just about their work; it's about the person, and that's what you're investing in.
Interesting, yeah.
It's not just the guitar. My uncle always says the thing is never the thing, right? So it's not just about a guitar. It's about building a relationship with this person and being able to take their art and have it be a useful, functional thing to do your own art.
Yeah.
Right. You talk about Dawson Holt. Like, what an honor to hear that album and think like, man, it's something that I made in my garage. Like, they were able to make music with it. and it's
Yeah.
on a recording, and no one will ever know that it was but
And there's like millions of plays on some of those songs.
right. And it's like, that is such a great feeling. And I'll take it, and I'm into it. So anyway, if you want more builders, I got tons of builders. Hit me up.
Hit you up. Okay, second question in the hitting you up realm.
Mm-hmm.
Are these two guitars that we've showed copiously for sale, or are these part of your private reserves?
No, they're going to be for sale. I just, again, this is a new, whatever
Concept.
workflow, on my website. I don't even have a for sale section on my website yet. So I got to set that up. I don't, honestly, I know that there are different avenues to sell these, but so much of my previous projects have been somebody hits me up
It's
and
just
then,
one up to one.
yeah,
sure.
one off. So these may not sell. I don't know. Hopefully they
So
do.
if you're
Yeah.
watching
Yeah,
and
if
you
you
saw
love
these
these, you
guitars
want
and you
them.
love them,
and then if they
and you're
don't-
aware that no other people on the planet can have this guitar, and Kevin doesn't even have a thing set up to sell it because it's only direct sale 1-to-1, and you want this guitar, hit him up. And how do they hit you up?
the site, everything is Equitz, EQUITZ. It's like equity, but with a Z instead of a Y.
Equity with
Do you
a
say,
Z.
you say that a lot, don't
I
you?
have to say that a lot.
Yeah, I do the same thing because my name's Jury. So
Right.
I always have to follow it up with 12 guys in a courtroom.
Ah, okay.
I say that, I don't know, every day of my
yeah.
life.
Is that your real name?
Yeah, is that your real
And
name?
I say Ryan, like every kid from the 80s.
Yeah, you don't gotta say shit. dude.
Yeah. Everything is Equitz Guitars. So, Instagram, it's not Twitter anymore. X.
X.
What do you guys say? Oh, hit me up on X.
Yeah.
Come on, whatever.
X me. Facebook,
Facebook, Instagram. My website is equitzguitars.com.
MySpace, Snapchat,
Yeah.
Tinder.
My goal for tonight's episode is that
Equitz Guitars on Tinder. Hit 'em up.
just, they're the shape
Swipe
of a
right.
woman. You might as
Yeah.
well,
Hey, man, whatever works.
But with that,
Yeah, before
buy these guitars, but we have
Yeah, so with every guest, we have one question that we actually plan.
I know.
Oh, he knows.
pretty rare that somebody knows.
So here's the thing.
Is that John Williams? Who did the?
Yeah, John
Yeah,
Williams.
John Williams.
Yeah.
He actually did it on an Equitz.
Wow.
Yeah, an Equitz cello.
Little known
Equitz
fact
cello.
Yeah.
from the actual Luthier.
Yeah, the Luthier Equitz.
Johann Equitz. Baron von Equitz.
Your great grandpa's ashamed.
Aaron von Equitz. That's a pretty good title. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one too. Write
Wesley
down
Reagan.
Baron von Equitz.
Oh, man.
But we do have one very important question that we ask
Every single guest.
So here's the thing: if you had to choose,
And you do.
and
do.
you do,
He's making
No-
crazy eyes.
Now
at
this
me.
this
That you
motherfucker's
don't
seen the
get
end of
in
an
the-
episode
You don't get that in the
before.
audio,
You
do
see-
you?
No,
Yeah.
dude, he just scratched my soul. Wow.
now the important thing
Wesley,
about this
look at
question,
him. Wesley, look at him.
He's not looking.
the important thing about this question
Yes.
is the answer must not come from here.
And for the same people who won't just watch the damn episode, he's pointing to his head.
It must come from here.
The heart.
If you had to choose,
And you do.
and you do. Now, what that actually means, though, coming from your heart and not your head, is that we need an answer immediately.
Instantly.
I don't want you to think about
Not
it.
even for a second.
I want the answer that's deep in your soul.
In your heart. No deeper than the heart. The soul. He's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you had to choose,
And you do.
and you
You really
do,
build this up, don't you?
what would you say is your
Answer honestly.
favorite kind of turtle?
Box turtle.
What
you-
in the hell?
No. Okay,
You
hold
seem
on
like
a
somebody
second.
who's seen this question before and you answered
Yeah.
box.
I know full well you've heard this question before.
Sorry. Well, I mean, this is of course.
You had time to think about it and you
Yeah.
picked one of the most obvious turtles?
yeah. Assuming the ninja variety is off the table.
It's not.
Yeah, we've
I
had
know.
people answer
It's
that.
very on the
I know,
table.
But that's kind of a
Yeah. I'm with you.
Cliche.
We have a dog. He's a 1-year-old Gerberian Shepsky. So German Shepherd Husky mix.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and
Siberian Husky.
yeah, and I'd never referred to him as such, but yeah,
Did you just make that up?
No, I know it sounds stupid, doesn't it?
Yeah.
His name is Jack, and he's a 1-year-old puppy. Apparently, in our backyard, turtles have cruised through there. I would never have known had we not added a puppy to this equation. That can, he's always chasing because we're out in the sticks. The people in the
Spring
city
Hill.
they refer to Spring Hill. It's like it might as well be Alabama as far as you're concerned.
100%. When Co moved here, I was like, I thought you were moving to Nashville.
Right.
You moved to
Isn't-
Middle Tennessee.
Isn't Alabama maybe closer though?
If you hear banjo music, then you've gone too far. Turn around. But yeah. Anyway, so we get critters in the yard. Rabbits and squirrels and possums and whatnot, and apparently turtles. And so one day Jack was out there barking away at something, and it looked like a full-on rock, and it was a turtle. And I was so impressed at this turtle, and this is why, I haven't really had to weigh my options with turtles until thinking about this question. But Jackson intimidating. He's like 65 pounds. He's not huge, but he's a good sized dog. And everything else runs away from him. But this turtle was like, not today. Turned into a rock, right? and there was no my dog was, not. He doesn't want to hurt anything. He just wants to play, but he plays a little too rough. And he did nothing to this turtle. I don't even think he scared the turtle. The turtle was like,
What are you gonna do? I'm in here.
I was built for this, And he just closed his little front door, and it turned out we had at least 2 of them. I don't know how many more we've had. Since then. But yeah, I was impressed, man. This box turtle, he's not scared of anything. And it's some big comes at him, and he's just I can turn into a rock. So I've got nothing to worry about.
Oh, that's actually a great reason. I dig that.
Right?
I'm into that.
If I could do that, if I could just turn into a rock.
Bro, I'd be a rock all day.
Right?
Now let me ask you. Okay, so half German Shepherd, half Husky. Does he scream like a husky?
He he won't scream, but he'll vocalize.
Just
Yeah, he'll kind of talk, but
husky vocalization's amazing, and also is the reason why I can't have a husky. I can't handle it.
Yeah, he doesn't do it too often. It's more of if he wants to go on a walk, if he's trying to get our attention.
Yeah.
But it's endearing when he does it. It's not as obnoxious as those those reels or whatever.
Yeah, when I watch those videos,
banshees.
My wife watches them and she's like, "We must get a husky." And I watch them, I'm like, "There's no way I can handle that."
Yeah.
Now, German Shepherd, on the other hand, is one of my top. Our next dog that we're planning on getting is a white Swiss Shepherd. It's an offshoot of German Shepherd, but they're all white and they come from Switzerland.
Well, yeah, and this is a weird thing. It's kind of like having kids. You hope they're smart, but then you kind of resent when they actually are.
Yeah, our current dog's real smart, and it's kind of a problem sometimes.
Yeah. So it was Jack is he's manipulative. He's smart. There are times where he's just so stupid, and sometimes where he's so smart to where you're like, you're just playing stupid, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If for people who've never owned dogs, when someone says their dog is manipulative,
adopted dogs?
Yeah, all right. Whatever.
Owned?
No. You own
Wow.
We adopted Jack.
Wow.
Nice.
But
we adopted him at 12 weeks. So in case
Sure.
anyone's gonna, throw paint
Sorry,
at
I
me.
believe you own him.
okay, well, I bought mine, not adopt.
He owns us, dude.
But the concept, of my dog is manipulative, is not something you can understand until you have a dog and that dog manipulates you, because they're so damn good at it, and they know exactly what you want. They know exactly how to get what they want. It is actually incredible.
It's weird. He will he'll throw decoys out. He'll grab something he's not supposed to have and go run into the other room, so we have to go get it, and then he'll go get the thing that he actually wanted. They had to get us out of the room in order to do it.
Yeah, my dog will pick something he's not supposed to have just so he can immediately drop it because he knows that he'll get attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'll pick something up and be like, "Gimli," and then he'll drop it. Yeah, he's a corgi, so he's got a little dwarf. He's a dwarf dog.
That's brilliant. All right.
And so he'll immediately drop it and then run over, wagging his tail, like, "Oh, you're gonna pet me now?
Yeah.
I did what you wanted."
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, "You son of a bitch!"
Well, at least he wants to be pet. See, the thing is, Jack is he's not easily motivated by affection or even food. It's you can't buy him.
Huh.
You know, he's
Really?
yeah, he's tricky.
I wonder if that'll change
He's
as he
like
gets
the
older.
I think
co
so.
of dogs.
Oh,
Drink.
interesting. Yeah, because my dog, he was not food motivated at all until he hit about 2 years, and then it like overnight shift, and now he's obsessed, just like every dog is obsessed with food. It feels
Yeah.
like.
All right.
And I was like, I have the special dog who doesn't care. I was wrong.
No, he's like
You're so
Hannibal
wrong.
Lecter. I think he just stares at us through the through the crate.
Oh man.
Quid pro quo, Clarice.
But it's about that time for us to get out of here. Normally,
We're gonna go out on a Dawson Hollow song called "Take Me There" that we recorded with Kevin's Blue Devara guitar. Fun side story.
Devera, I believe.
Devara. You say tomato, I say tomato.
It's fine.
Nobody says tomato.
And-
No one has ever said tomato. You ever heard that shit? That whole statement is bullshit.
Maybe tomato, but what about potato? When they say potato, potato.
No one says
no
potato.
Never heard
potato.
potato in my life.
Yeah.
But I say Devara, and it's a guitar shape. Just so earlier you saw the
Rayburn.
the Devara, a different one, not pictured here today, but played on the Dawson Hollow album. What did we call that album? Boy My Youth, on most songs, and this is a song called "Take Me There."
But anyways, guys, as always, thanks for coming to hang out. You guys are awesome, and we'll see y'all next time.
There's no place like home, somewhere you can let your head down low. No place that I'd rather be than when you're here beside me. Oh, take me there, take me there. Looking for a place to call my own, looking for a place where I belong. There's nothing in the world like a kind-hearted, beautiful girl. You can search all you like, oh, but lucky is he who finds a good, good wife. Oh, take me there, take me there. Looking for a place to call my own, looking for a place where I said take me there, take me there. Looking for a place to call my own, looking for a place where I belong, looking for a place where I can be, looking for a place where I am free. What does home even mean? Time, a person, a place, is somewhere in between. Maybe it's all the above. Truly, I think it's who you love.